Good.
All right, well, we'll call this, call the meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Elections to order September 17th, 2020 at 7:01. So roll call.
Cliff Myers, member, present.
Brianna Cuffey, member, present.
Regina Watkins Eldridge, City Clerk, present.
All right. Move on. Approval of the minutes for July 16th. Hopefully you guys had a chance to look at it. I looked at it and sent my comments into, I don't think there was really anything major. Did you all have any changes or concerns or questions?
I didn't. I don't have any notes for any.
Excuse me. I did not have any anything to comment on.
Okay.
Where is it? There it is.
All right. So can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve July minutes.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay, discussion. First item is legislation update. I believe the ordinance and in regards to the ordinance and the resolution in regard to the dates of the election and the MOU are moving through the city council appropriately. Is that correct, Regina?
No,
No?
I don't think so. I haven't, I thought we adopted the resolution with the MOU and then we sent it to the county. So I think that's done.
That's done. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's done.
And then,
Yeah.
okay, so we're all done. And
Yeah.
then the Alderman Savage did pull his proposal for the charter amendment to change the primary date in for 2021. At the Rules Committee, there had been discussion about reintroducing a proposal to make it effective in 2025. However, Alderman Arnett brought up that the Charter Amendment Commission is going to be beginning in January,
Yes.
and that perhaps it would be best to hold off on any further charter amendments, such as the one for elections, until after that commission meets. I was in concurrence with that and also said that I felt like from a charter amendment standpoint with the commission, we needed to look at the bigger picture and could certainly include that item in, but there were also other items that I expected to be discussed, such as nonpartisan elections, rank file elections, and some other types of options. So we'll put that on the list for the commission to consider. But there's no legislation, so the primary date is going to stay the same in September.
Did we have I thought there was we had our legislation, which was moving back the extending the number of days for receipt of the absentee ballots.
Correct. That was the other one. Is that, Regina, is that one been done? There was a resolution and there was an ordinance.
I can jump in if Gina doesn't know.
I don't. Thanks, Ashley.
Because I just looked at it today. So the ordinance related to absentee ballots was adopted. So that one's good. The resolution related to the county MOU, I think, is still in committees at this point. At least that's what it said in Legistar. It hasn't been adopted yet. I don't, for whatever reason, I think it's still sort of going through the process, but I'll double check with Jacqueline Lee on that.
Okay.
All right. Any other legislation that you guys are aware of?
No, not me.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. As I hear more about the Charter Amendment Commission, I'll let you all know.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Okay, next agenda item is the election year calendar. Regine had taken the notes that were the draft that Cliff had put together and then put in the city code. And then the mayor has approved the holidays that go along with that. So that's been done.
Hey, I have one comment that I noted on the calendar.
Mhm.
The date Friday, August 27th Let me scroll down to that. I believe it's August 27th of 2021.
Mhm.
BBD, August 16th, August 9th. Oh, sorry, went the wrong way. August 27th. August 24. There it is. Under Friday, August 27, 2021, the second bullet has a deadline for court to entertain suite. And I think we mean suit.
That's sweet that you found it.
That's all I noted.
I'll correct that.
Did you have a comment, Regina?
Oh, I just want to let you guys know for this calendar, we also added in the dates for the reporting periods of the 4 campaign fund reports due during the election. So we won't get a lot of phone calls for that this time because everybody will know. But I did have a question for you. The code section states that the reporting period shall be the day after the general. But we already had people with reports that they turned in from July 1st of 2020. So I put 2 dates in there for one date for the incumbents and 1 date for new. So if you look at that section for the first report, you'll see 2 dates because the incumbents already have campaign fund reports.
Gotcha.
So I didn't think that
Right.
section met. I mean, they would have to meet that requirement to start their reporting period the day after the general.
Right, because they wouldn't, if you are a new candidate, you don't have anything to do yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And is that what was done in 2017?
Yes.
Okay.
And I did note that it already incorporated that extra week for the absentee ballots to be returned.
Yes.
Good. Okay. All right. Anything else on the election year calendar for discussion?
No, we need, once you approve it, I'm going to send it over to Anne Arundel County because it's part of the MOU.
Okay. All right.
So we're going to send that over.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the election year calendar as written?
I make a motion to approve the election year calendar with the fix for August 27 to adjust the word to suit and to approve the entire calendar otherwise. Thank you.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay. The city county MOU status, Ashley?
Not going anywhere fast. They are, needless to say, a bit distracted at the moment. I can follow up with them. I'm not sure if we're going to hear much back from them till after
Right.
this election. The election they're working on.
You know, if you could get an idea, because I mean, the general election is going to be November.
Yeah.
And last I talked to them, they were anticipating it could take 3 weeks to count all the votes.
Yeah, I'll follow up and see if they have sort of a timeline on it. I'm hoping it won't take them that long to review it. But yeah, I'll prompt them tomorrow.
And if you could also just let them know that charter amendment was pulled.
Yes, that I will be happy to let them know.
They also, I think, will be happy to know that. Okay. All right. But we don't anticipate any problems. Did you have a chance to find out if the mayor has had a chance to talk with the county executive?
Oh, I did. I actually went upstairs on Wednesday and I talked to Susie and David Gerald. And they said that they were going to make sure that conversation happens, but they didn't say when.
Okay. All right, that would be helpful. All right, any other information or any other questions on the MOU status? All right. Election office, you want to give it the happy news, Regina?
Mhm. Oh, you picked somebody?
It's open and we hired somebody.
Sweet.
Yay!
Yay.
We hired Susan Eckert. She was here before.
So she
Yeah.
is here for the special election. So that'll
Yes.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's great. And we're very happy to have her. She will be starting on October the 1st. We
Okay.
were gonna have her start like next week, but the city wants her to start at the beginning of a pay period. And since she hadn't had her tested, hadn't been tested or had her drug test or had her contract signed, we can't bring her on until that's done. So the contract's being routed. Ashley's taking care of that for us.
Okay. And is she working 4 days a week or 5 days a week?
She is actually working 4 days a week. She will be off on Thursdays
Okay.
because that's my teleworking day. So I'm gonna take my teleworking day to get duties assigned for her for the next week and do my regular job.
So she'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yes, and she'll only be working from 9 to 2.
Okay.
Hey, Regina,
Yes, sir.
do you see her having time to assist in, maybe some of at least the initial setup on review of campaign reports?
Absolutely. That's going to be one of her duties as assigned.
Great.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
actually, you could call her on the first day. That could be one of her first assignments to get that done so we can send the memo out.
Okay. And I think we also talked about that she'll be able to help with the initiative for putting together a candidate manual and some training. So that would be something she can work with you, Brianna, on.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know she has not just organizational and administrative experience, but I believe she has a little HR experience too.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah, so that'd be great. All right, well, and then she'll be coming to our meetings, you also said.
Absolutely. So with Thursday being her day off and your meetings being on Thursdays, we probably would give her that Wednesday off the day prior and have her come in so she can attend the meetings. So we can both be on the same page in case I'm unavailable to her.
Right, okay, great. And she was also helpful too at the special election of being able, when you weren't there, she still
Right.
took minutes
Right.
and did that sort of thing. She did the minutes for the canvas and
Mhm.
so that'd be great. All right, and then she's going to actually be in the conference room, I believe.
She is going to be in a conference room for right now. Mike said that the city is putting in some a door, this a half door or something, and cutting a hole in the wall and some kind of COVID setup so that we don't have to have people in our office.
Right,
So
so she'll just be able to if people start dropping some things off, and she'll be taking
Yeah.
the phone calls for candidates. Okay, sounds good.
absolutely. And I don't know if I told everybody, but we do have the same PO box for the next election, box 788. So
Okay.
that'll save a lot of time on documents because we don't have to change all of the PO box numbers.
Yeah, so that county was very happy to see that. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and when is that? Is that active now?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. So after we get the MOU together and the county says, okay, and I'm gonna deliver keys to them.
okay, great. All right, Cliff, you're on the campaign fund report.
All right. I do have it here. All right. So the primary comments out of this. Oh, I thought that was the file. Where is it? There it is. Unfortunately, they were actually a little worse. A couple folks who traditionally not had issues in terms of, in particular, showing aggregates on the contribution pages or coding receipts. So those facets were a little worse, unfortunately. There were a couple of beginning and ending footing issues between the prior report and the beginning balance of this report. So I mean, there are very few of the campaigns that actually appeared to have everything in order. Mayor's was, I think, one of them. We may have one other, but many of them had a variety of miscellaneous issues. So the biggest things that remain right now are, and Regina had it referenced on the agenda, but we still have a fine due from Alderman Gay, and we have a fine due from prior Alderman
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez, that need to be taken care of, but the others have either, appropriately closed out their accounts or paid their applicable fees. So that part is good, but, we will need to have a number of amended reports submitted to us, unfortunately.
But
Uh,
things
And I
are
have
pretty
not
minor.
looked at, Alderman Gay's having just come in recently. I've not had a chance to look at his. So in the report I had, I just simply indicated, unfinished. And then the ADCC they did file an amended report when they addressed the treasurer issue. So I, removed that from the initial draft that I had that reflected that we do have the proper report now.
Did they have a math error or something too?
Yes, they did. That was not fixed. And they're one of them that had the incorrect ending from the prior report to a beginning on this report. ARCC actually had a small error, which was unusual. That's what I meant. It's like there were very few that came through without little mistakes.
So the last analysis that we have that we just got, so is this up to date or does there need to be some additional changes?
So this is other than going through and reviewing Alderman Gay's report. This is current, so we can, I guess, approach this in two ways. I'd initially written this that this would be something, we take the cover page, put the Annapolis city logos on it and so forth, and send it out, and follow up later with Alderman Gay's recap, or wait a week or so until I have a chance to take a look at his to see if his numbers foot. He did have a fair amount of contributions reported. And it looked like he had aggregates, so that's good, but I didn't look at it in detail or compare it to his prior reports yet.
Okay, so I think what we did the last time was to send this whole thing out to all of the candidates. Is that what we want to do, or do we just want to let them know?
Yep, they all get it.
All right. Okay, so I think the only thing, I just want to look through it really quickly. So the Democratic Central Committee just needs to do their math error.
Yeah, so if
And then Annapolis Republican Central Committee needs to submit a revised summary page and schedule one.
Right, because they didn't have the aggregates and their ending cash balance was incorrect. Alderman Gay, has actually, the campaign report has been received, but I haven't had a chance to review it yet. Alderman Tierney, again, I need a new schedule one. The interesting thing about her report that I was trying to figure out was that, she listed $168 as a Wells Fargo deposit correction. And then listed it, and it shows up on the contribution. So I couldn't figure out what the heck, was it, is an additional amount, it was a credit. So my question really to Alderman Tierney was, was a prior contribution reported as too little? Was there one missing? Wells Fargo wasn't just giving $160 out of the good graces of their heart. So it seemed to me that there might be some other reported error on a prior report that would be the cause of that $160 correction to show it as a contribution, which was,
So we need to ask her what that is.
Yeah, it is not a contribution. And then she had the method of disbursement under disbursements for Schedule 3. Alderman Payon had the wrong dates and did not have aggregates reported. Mayor Buckley, I did not note anything in his. The dates were correct. He had aggregates. It appeared to be pretty clean. Mr. Moyer did pay his fee. He did file late, but he paid his fee. And he did file all his prior reports.
Yeah, he decided, I think because he still had money, that he didn't want to close.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay.
Um, Ms. Muzag did file her final report. And yeah, so the only question on this I'll ask is, so on her formal report, it shows a disbursement, uh, uh, commendable and charitable to two particular entities for her campaign funds. She has since rectified that and provided funds as per code to an allowable entity. I think it was the ARCC that she provided the funds to their, but yeah, should I, we have the copy of that payment as evidence. And I was saying, do we go down the path of asking her to refile and amend her report to reflect money coming back in and then going back out to the ARCC, or just take her,
Well, I
the
think
copy
she
of her
sent
check
an
and call it a day?
explanation when she did the check.
I mean,
I mean, I'm willing just to keep it as that.
I think so too, rather than, just creating paper. We have the documentation that, she listened and took care of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure that there's definitely an email and documentation trail
Right,
that we can look at.
perfect, yep.
So I'm fine with that. Are you okay with that, Brianna?
Yeah, that's fine by me.
All right. Friends of Yanis, he closed the campaign. There was no report required. It's really just commenting it. It's gone. Mr. Gallagher, his report is satisfactory. Nothing required. Former Alderman Rodriguez, as noted previously. We got his prior reports amended, signed. But we do need a final campaign report and his $190. Alderwoman,
This is for Mr. Gallagher?
this is Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Alderman Charles, she did not have the contribution aggregates, so need a revised Schedule 1. Alderman Savage, he used the incorrect prior report as the beginning date. And so the beginning cash balance in this report picked up the ending cash balance from the report ending 5/27. So he needs to, fix those. Alderman Arnett, he did pay his late fee, but he needs to correct the late fee he paid for the prior incident when he was late, because that came out of campaign funds and that is not permitted. So he needs to reimburse the campaign for $20.
So the submit late fee is for which report?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, he needs to submit a late fee for $20. My error. He needs to submit his late fee of $20 for the late filing of the current cycle, and he needs to reimburse the campaign for the $20 that was paid out of the campaign on his prior late fee.
Okay. And so that'll require an amended.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm suggesting here, I was providing, assume whatever date this actually gets sent, a 30-day time window, a statement to the city clerk, by the due date. In this time I had 10/15, but whatever that turns out to be, the due date for the amended filings confirming that the campaign has received the $20. I don't want them to alter the Schedule 3 on its current report. It should be included and dated on Schedule 1 for the next required campaign report. I just didn't want to wait until July of 2021 to see whether or not he'd actually done it.
Okay.
Alderwoman Finlayson, again, contribution aggregates not reported and need to submit revised Schedule 1 reflecting those aggregates. Yeah, there was, in that regard, it was not a very good set of reports. And I mean, I had just miscellaneous comments that we're still going to try to address and make maybe help make it a little bit cleaner and easier for them to follow in terms of the coding. Some things were, you know, let's see, Alderman Payon's report did not have the transfer of 250. He received 250 from the County Central Committee. It was encoded as CO, but otherwise it was properly reported. So there, miscellaneous things of that ilk. And then actually Alderwoman Finlayson, she had a $630 general expense payable to campaign. But it was one, and I couldn't tell it was an expense that was coming from 3 other parties or a single expense. It seemed to me that, I wasn't clear on this. We could ask, it could include in the report a statement to, clarify the nature of those disbursements, as to whether or not they should be reflected as 3 separate disbursements directly payable to each of those parties. Or as I put in my write-up here, that it could be that maybe she initially directly paid all these expenses herself and is reimbursing herself from the campaign for those expenses that she footed for those 3 individuals. It was a little unclear.
Yeah, what did she have it coded as?
It was a general expense payable to the campaign, $630.
Okay.
So those were those are my observations from the reports.
Okay. Well, I think your comments in the letter are helpful, and just try to, especially since having the aggregates has continued to be an ongoing, issue.
Yeah, in the preamble, it is a repeated issue.
Okay. All right.
So do you want us to issue this and without the review of Alderman Gay's report, or wait a week or so until I've had a chance to look at Alderman Gay's report? In which case then we probably would indeed follow up with Regina's thought and comment that Susan would then take the final and send it out. So if we did that path, I would ask, I guess maybe a motion that, we'd send this out to everybody, but to proceed and send this out to all the campaigns, as soon as, either Susan is able to send it out as soon as we can in early October, or prior to then, if I'm able to get Alderman Gay's review completed.
Well, I always like to get it out sooner rather than later, but recognize that Regina's time is busy. But if you could get that last report done, that would be helpful.
You can, if he wants to just send the report out, we can do what he already has. I can send that out like in an email tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, if that could get sent out in an email, that'd be great. And then we can have Susan do the follow-up analysis and upgrade this, or maybe make some of those phone calls, just getting clarification. But if we could get this out, by early next week, I think that would be preferable.
Okay.
Are you okay with, if you can get Alderman Gay's report reviewed by then, that'd be great. But if not, I think we just send it out with his pending. Does that make sense, Cliff? Cliff is frozen on my screen.
Yeah, I think he's frozen on mine too.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that, Regina? Are we okay?
You're fine.
Okay. All right, I'll double check with him when he gets back on. All right, where are we in the agenda? All right. Okay, Brianna, you want to give us a quick idea of what you're thinking of for the candidate training?
I was looking at it, might be a little on the extensive side, just because I want to make sure that sections of code and whatnot are included in it. May not necessarily be something that is necessarily completely gone through with everyone, but to at least have it in that binder. Like I had told you, the world is on fire, so I have not really had the chance to flesh anything that I had started out, because the world is on fire, which means my work has been insane. But
You'll have help, so you'll have somebody that you can,
yeah, and I mean, once I get the table of contents really completed, I'll be able to fill stuff in. I did have some of the stuff from the website linked to start, to make sure that, if people are looking at it electronically, that things are hyperlinked. I'm not sure. I wanted to, how we felt about including like ward maps or anything like that, samples as far as fund reports and things like that. Are those things that we want to have included, or do we just want to refer people to the website for that? Since
I
know
think
the map
referring
ones.
people to the website's helpful. I think citing specifically to code. I think what happens is the candidates, including the incumbents, really don't know the code or refer to the code.
Okay.
So I think things like campaign fund reports, making sure they understand what those have to be, how they're supposed to be done. Talking about challengers and watchers, even basics like behavior. I mean, it sounds crazy,
Yeah.
but just knowing who they can talk to, how they, that sort of thing. And then, if we have that down, and then we can review it even closer to the election.
Okay.
But I think that's most of it. I think also giving them information about where to find things. So ask, have them, if it's sometimes just a frequently asked question section would be helpful for them, and also for their treasurers.
Mhm.
So having Susan on board would be great, because some of the things could go to her, but some of the things could just go directly up to the county.
Mhm.
Or, what are the types of questions? Sometimes what happens is they get these questions from their constituents and they just call Regina to get the answer, as opposed to saying, okay, guys, look in your manual first and see if you can find it.
Right.
I think also with the new website, with things more consolidated, that will be helpful. So again, just I think sending them places, and hopefully keeping that more to a minimum. And maybe also Susan can be in a position where she can say, well, you can find that answer by X, Y, and Z, as opposed to try to break some of that behavior of just calling, City Hall,
Right.
which gets really crazy closer to the election. So that would be helpful. I think just a frequently asked questions for them, and maybe give them the information so that they know where to go if constituents are asking them for information.
Okay.
Which reminds me, Regina, you had done a really good job with MIT as far as looking at the elections. One of the things I noticed that I think might be helpful on the website is there's a section called How Do I? So things like, how do I file a complaint? How do I get a building permit? Could
Mhm.
we add, how do I vote?
Sure.
Because I think people probably go to that site, and that would just
Is
be,
it how do I vote, or where do we vote?
well, it just says how, I can't remember. It could be how do I vote? Or I think it's really how do I vote in municipal? So that way we can send them, if they're looking for a registration, where they go, if they're looking for an absentee ballot, if they're looking for where they go, that sort of thing. And I think you may already have talked to them about including on the website how they find out where they vote. I mean, how they find out what ward they're in.
Mhm.
With the look.
Sean Wampler did a great job with the GS side of that. So you can put in your address and it'll
Right.
pull up the polling precinct. Yeah.
And of course, that won't be changing by 2021, but it might be changing by 2025
Yes.
once we get the census data. So yeah, also Brianna, if you think there's anything too, just to put on the website that would help some of that, that'd be great too.
Mhm.
And I think just start, it's easy to try to, go big and whittle it down, but I think just getting started and just even some basics
Okay.
You know, we have a little bit of, you know, we have some time because we don't really have candidates rushing to sign up, but I would expect after the first of the year, things will really start kicking in. So having everything ready. There was also a question, Regina, maybe you can answer this. Can we make it the kind, I don't know if we can make it mandatory, or this might be a question for Ashley too. How can we make it so that we really expect the candidates, whether they're incumbents or new candidates, that are going to be reviewing this information?
I'm sorry, could you state that again? I didn't
Well,
catch.
is there a way in which we can, how do we encourage, or can we put a little bit more on the candidates to say, you need to review this information? If we have an online kind of training thing, we want you to watch
could be-
it, to sign
We
off.
could make the last page of the training a code of ethics that they have to sign, and you can require that it comes back to you.
So that'll work.
I was
Yeah,
gonna,
that's what
I was
gonna
gonna say
suggest.
something similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just make it something they sign.
Yeah,
Okay.
make it something they signed to say that they reviewed it.
Yeah, as I say, that's what I was gonna suggest, because I know I've done some simple ones where it's just like, you know, I acknowledge that I received and reviewed this information,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they can't just scroll down to that page, right?
Yeah, no.
All right. Well, that sounds good. All right. Anything else, Brianna?
No, not over, not yet.
All right. Any comments? So I kind of jumped ahead a little bit to the city website, to the elections information. Has anybody else had a chance to look at it?
I did a little bit. I feel like, I don't know why. I feel like I was expecting so much more, but maybe because there'll be so much more later. I don't
Yeah.
know. I
It's not
anticipated being thoroughly overwhelmed with information.
too
Well,
early.
lots of forms.
Yeah, too early, Brianna.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
one comment I had about it when you, well, no, I guess that's with the search. Never mind. I answered my own question. Now, the election forms, I had asked Regina a question of you. We had talked about with the certificate of candidacy and the whole thing with the affidavit.
Hmm.
And just, Brianna, give you some background to this. There's an affidavit on the certificate of candidacy that if a candidate is going to not raise more than $100, they sign saying that, and then they don't have to do the reports. But
Right.
there's also an affidavit on a separate piece of paper
Hmm.
that needs to be signed. And so there has been confusion in the past about one being signed and one the other, or people not knowing about it.
But my issue was the language on the certificate of candidacy. It actually states you have to sign this affidavit by the deadline of the receipt of your certificate of candidacy. And then on an affidavit, the code section says that you have to sign it by the time the first campaign fund report is due.
Okay.
So I think they either need to match, or we need to take it off, or we need to do something with them, because
Well,
it's two
that was
different times.
That was one of the questions, is do we need to have it in two different places? Do we take it off of the certificate of candidacy and keep it separate? Or do we keep it on the certificate of candidacy and do
And get
a
rid of the form.
separate one? I mean, what are you, Cliff, you probably had more to do with this in the past.
Yeah, I think, because what was happening was a disconnect between those two forms and statements. It might be cleaner to have it as a separate page. Just, it's a, if you want to, make your statement about, you're not going to raise, more than $100, that's off the candidacy form, and it's separate form, period.
Well, that one liner is there, but it also has a reference to the code that states that the report is due. The affidavit is due at the same time as the first campaign fund report. So that section of code is there, but it says certificate of candidacy under it. So we could correct the code and leave it on both. They would match.
I'm kind of in favor of keeping it in one place, one or the other, and
Okay.
not both.
Which one?
Well, which one refers to code?
Both of them. That's what I'm saying. The same code section is on both, but the one, the statement on the bottom of the certificate of candidacy is incorrect.
So can we just take the
Okay.
affidavit off the certificate of candidacy and then leave the affidavit as separate with the
Mhm.
code, with the correct code? Does that make
All
sense?
up to you.
Yeah.
Now, when they get their packet for candidates, should that be included in it so that they know? I mean, I almost wonder, should we have an affidavit so they either decide they're going to raise money or they're not raising money?
Yeah, so that it should be in the package as a separate form, and it's very clear that if you're not intending that this is one of the forms that you need to submit. But again, it's not due until your first campaign report, right?
Right,
But they can submit it sooner.
Yes.
right.
So I think if we ask them if they are going, I think the problem I had with it in the past was it's left empty, so we don't know if they are raising money or they're not
Or
raising.
they're not,
money,
yeah.
And do they know about it? And that's been one of the problems. People say, I didn't know I had to sign it.
Right.
So can the affidavit be made to read, asking them, are you going to raise more than 100 or you're not? And have them just decide then.
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Are you thinking about having that affidavit signed either way? That, so it's just part of the package that everybody, it's a separate form and everybody signs that at the time of, submitting their candidacy. It's a separate page and it just says your intentions to, raise more or less than $100, and you sign that at that time. And there's, modify it to say if you elect to, obviously if you sign it now, but you choose to raise more, you will need to submit a campaign report. Do we want to make it a form that everybody signs in that sense? So that way it's out center and clear?
I'm kind of in favor of that. I mean, if they could take it when they declare the candidacy and say, well, I don't know. And yes, the deadline is with the first report, but most of them are going to know if they're going to be raising money or
You
not.
know what the intentions are.
It generally is the central committee candidates that
Right,
aren't going to be
right.
raising money.
Mhm.
Right.
So does that work, Regina? I mean, that
Sure.
requires a little bit more editing.
Well, no, not really, because we're just going to take it off at the bottom of the certificate of candidacy, period, and the form is already done.
Right, but let's say someone is going to raise more than $100. I think what
Mhm.
Cliff is saying, we want them to sign acknowledging that they plan to raise more than $100 and they realize
Oh.
they've got to submit campaign fund reports.
So the form is just, has a little bit of a tweak in that it's simply, it's an affidavit in your intent to, and is regard to your intent on campaign funding. And please select, you intend to raise more than 100, you do not. If you intend to raise less than 100, then you need to sign the form. I mean, I don't know, maybe everybody signs it regardless.
So are you saying that we've removed the affidavit from the certificate of candidacy stating that you will not be raising more than $100, and change that section to say, I will be raising more than $100, and have them sign there?
No, the affidavit form becomes, you would take it off the certificate of candidacy, and the affidavit form becomes dual purposed. Everybody signs it acknowledging what their intents are.
Okay.
But if your intents are to be less than 100, then you need to, I think, it's the treasurer and the campaign both sign that.
Okay.
That sounds good to me. How about you, Brianna?
That's fine by me.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Um,
Does that work for you, Regina?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I'm going to talk with Ashley about it to see
I was
how we
gonna
can
say,
adjust the
yeah,
form so it can reflect both, but I think it's fine.
All right, well, if you can run it past Ashley, and if Ashley says it's okay, then it's okay.
I've
Okay,
been listening. It sounds fine. And I'll work with Gina to get something together.
Okay. I
thanks,
just think
Ashley.
that would help clarify because, that was the same issue that made it into the papers, I think like not once, but twice.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I like the solution, and I'm finally done working on the Harbor Masters form, so I can start on your guys.
Thank you, Ashley.
That sounds good. All right. So what about the regular absentee ballot, the emergency absentee ballot, and the challenger and watcher forms? You just want those reviewed, Regina, or do you have any other change?
I'm thinking that we might have to wait. I didn't do anything with those because, first of all, it's a lot of dates in it. And
Right.
with the new resolution extending the period for absentee ballots, I wanted to make sure that it was passed first. I didn't know that. And I don't know how the MOU affected these documents.
Okay, so we just need to keep an eye on them and then change them as needed.
Uh-huh. But the only one I would had a lot of questions about was the challengers and watchers,
Right.
because that was a problem at the American Legion during the last election, remember?
Right, they have a lot more stipulations. We don't really have a whole lot in code.
Mhm.
There's some basic types of things like you can't buy the judge's coffee and donuts, and again, this goes back to training. Things like, no, you can't take pictures with your constituents at the polling place, that
Right.
sort of thing. So actually, that's something, Brianna, that might be helpful for you with the training. I'll send you some of the comments that we had during the election as far as the conduct at the polling places.
Mhm.
Not just candidates, but, campaign workers, things like that, Don't complain about parking if your sign waivers are making up the spots that are supposed to be for voters, that kind of thing, parking and that. So I'll get that to you.
Okay.
And that'll be helpful. Okay. Anything else on election forms? Okay. Next item is approval of the 2021 Board of Elections calendar meeting or calendar dates. They looked okay to me.
What is this August meeting?
You have
Well,
to
yeah.
have it. You have
We're
to
gonna
have a
have
meeting
to.
in August. You got to certify your candidates.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, August 2021. We can't get away from it.
No.
So
All
no
right.
vacations for you. Uh,
No, I just have to make sure it's between July 16th and August 18th. That's all.
Just my question for you all is, does the third Thursday of the month still work for you all?
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
My other question was, wouldn't I feel like us meeting in November, on election day and doing other stuff count as meetings? So would we need one November 18th?
Not necessarily, but we usually just put it
To
in
have
there,
it on
and
there?
then it's easier to have it in and then say we don't need it as opposed to adding it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
'Cause
I had that thought, but I was like, maybe it's not necessary. So, okay.
Yeah,
We
or
want to
sometimes,
put in your meeting dates as soon as possible on the city council calendar, because other boards and committees
No,
need your
yeah,
spot
okay.
Right.
will request your spot.
and Brianna, sometimes we'll combine them if we're at, if we have to go up to Glen Burnie to certify something or do something, and we might make that the meeting. So we do have a little bit of flexibility.
Right. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I was thinking about, because I was like, well, if we're gonna be together, then I don't think we need a meeting. So,
Right.
Okay.
And we've actually had to sometimes call special meetings ahead of time
Absolutely.
too, because decisions need to be made in a timely manner.
yeah, I noticed some of the special meetings on the city council draft too.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, then all set
Okay.
over here.
So the certification of certificate of candidacy. We had Brooks Schandelmeyer submitted his paperwork for,
Hold on. Are you guys going to vote on your meeting dates
oh,
before?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You're right.
Thank you.
I forgot we need a vote.
I move to accept the Board of Supervisors of Elections meeting dates over the next 12 months. Or
Second.
next year and a half.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So the certificate of candidacy, Brooke Schandelmeyer had submitted the paperwork for alderman, to be an alderman candidate, which is actually the candidate for 2021. Regina's had been communicating with him to verify that an application to the city was not the application for the vacancy that is being conducted by the Annapolis Democratic Central Committee. He expressed an understanding of that and put forth an application to the Annapolis Democratic Central Committee. We also, as a precaution, Regina sent him, I can't remember if it was earlier this week or last week, the section of city code that indicates that if you are a candidate for an office, you cannot run for another office or the same office. So essentially, if he was declared a candidate for 2021, he would be ineligible to put an application in for the Ward 5 vacancy.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
And is his intent which one was his intent? I'm sorry, was it to
His
be?
intent is for both.
Yes.
So he'll have to hold off on part 2 if he is not awarded part 1.
Yes,
Right. So Regina, you communicated with him today.
I did. And he asked me not to move forward his certificate of candidacy to you for certification.
Got it.
So
So we are not voting on it tonight. It's withdrawn,
it's withdrawn.
Okay.
which is helpful because otherwise we would have to go through a withdrawal purpose. I mean, once it's accepted, it's a holdup.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So I have communicated his eligibility to the ADCC along with, there's another,
William Henry Green.
right. So those are 2, and my understanding is there might be a third.
Mhm.
The deadline for the application is Monday, the 21st, and then they are going to be meeting on the 28th. So they have a pretty extensive outline of what their plans are on their website. If you're interested in looking at that, I think it's AnnapolisDems.org, I think, something like that is their website. So they've been working with Regina in terms of checking on eligibility of candidates. So just so you know too, Regina, there might be one coming in tomorrow or Monday at the last minute.
Okay.
All right. Any other issues, concerns, questions, discussions?
No.
Huh?
No? All right, we got a lot done in an hour.
Look at us.
A lot of stuff.
All right, well, we're so well rested from August, right? So our next meeting in October then is October 15th. Okay,
Yep.
all right, same place, same time.
Same view.
We'll be here.
All right, so Regina,
All
you'll
right.
get some of that stuff out to us and then.
Yes, ma'am.
Moving along, so, all right. I have a motion
Motion
to
to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
7:50